In the news tonight,
we expect to have Unit 10 back also on commercial.
New transformers installed at Nalubale Power Dam to replace those that have been operating since 1954.
I'm advised that it was stopped, maybe because of being unsafe.
A wall fence foundation at a construction site in Mengo Kisenyi collapses. 1 dead, several injured.
My lords and my ladies, is that the IEBC stamp?
Also tonight, Raila Odinga's lawyers submit in the Supreme Court in Kenya the Electoral and Boundaries Commission's portal was tampered with. And in sports, Uganda men's national cricket team, the Cricket Cranes, resumed training ahead of the inaugural edition of the Africa T20 tournament. Good evening. Thank you for joining PM Edition on CTV. I'm Kalachi Brian with Isaac Luchams for your sign language interpretation. Starting us off today, government has bought 3 new transformers installed at Nalubale Power Dam in Jinja. The transformers will boost the transmission of electricity throughout the country. Well, this comes at a time when several turbines are being repaired to ensure the power supply in the country stabilizes.
Recently, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources announced a power shortage problem after sections of Isimba Power Dam were flooded, causing substantive damage to the power plant. As the Isimba Power Dam technical fault is being rectified, the government, through Eskom Uganda, has acquired 3 transformers to boost power supply. Thozama Gangi, the head of Eskom Uganda, commissioned the new transformers at Nalubale Power Dam in Jinja.
3 and Unit 5. And,
He says 6.8 billion Ugandan shillings were spent to buy the transformers that have a lifespan of between 35 to 50 years.
we have the 33 kV substation and the 132 kV. What they do is to step up the voltage from 11 kV to 33 and also from 11 kV to 132. Why do we do that? To ensure, because we are transporting electricity over long distances, we have to ensure that it's reliable and we also reduce any possible losses.
Eskom's engineer Peter Tentena says the new transformers have replaced those that have been operational at the dam since 1954 when the dam was commissioned. Tentena says the transformers do not increase the amount of electricity being generated but improve the distribution and transmission of electricity across the country.
We have not added more megawatts, but what we have done was that these we are stepping up from 11 kV to 132 and to 33.
He says power shortage cannot happen in Uganda because Eskom has the capacity to generate 320 megawatts of power. Engineer Angela Bamuleseyo says the transformers are reliable and due diligence was carried out before they were bought.
When the transformer comes on site, we do similar testing, and until the tests have passed, that is when we accept to go on the grid.
Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM Edition.
The State Minister for Health, Hanifa Kawoya Banjirana, has warned medical workers who are absenting themselves from work that they risk losing their jobs. Kawoya says district service commissions have a right to delete names of such civil servants and recruit those who want to serve. The details.
Kawoya was speaking during a health retreat for political leaders from 10 districts in Masaka sub-region at Maria Flo Hotel in Masaka City. It was intended to mobilize political leaders to encourage citizens to take their children to health centers for immunization. The meeting was also informed about the new plan to vaccinate infants against hepatitis B as well as other immunizable diseases. Kawoya says district leaders have a duty to demand accountability from medical workers who are only interested in big salaries without delivering any service to Ugandans.
Our health workers, please, I have told everybody and all health workers in this room, together with the rest of the participants here to help us as a sector. We are the leading.
She says government is considering introducing a method of recruiting medical workers on contract basis. She expressed disappointment over some Ugandans who have been resisting COVID-19 vaccination.
And many of our people are not vaccinated. We as leaders, I'm saying we because I'm part of you, have relaxed. No one is anymore, anywhere, any function talking about go and get vaccinated.
Kawoya asked medical workers and political leaders to sensitize people on sanitation because it is the leading cause of diseases in Uganda. Dr. Norbert Muhozi from Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, who organized the health retreat, says without engaging political leaders, most health campaigns can easily fail.
We have also invited the LC5, RDC and the others because we cannot work in isolation. We need them for them to immunize our people. So they have also been in attendance in abundance, and we believe that they are going to transcend the training up to the health center too.
Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM Edition.
On a sad note, shock engulfed Mbiro Zone, Kafumbe Mukasa Chisenyi 2 in Kampala Central when a deep trench collapsed, killing one person instantly and injuring others. Police identified the deceased as Martin Kato. We have the details.
It was a moment of panic and sadness as colleagues and relatives of Martin Kato witnessed efforts by rescue workers to retrieve his body. Kato was digging a deep wall fence foundation in Mbilo Zone. Kisenyi died after soils gave away and buried him. His colleagues, who survived with injuries, were rushed to the hospital. According to survivors, they didn't know that soils were awakening as they dug deeper.
Sawa ngao zibadde ziwera ssatu kwe kubanga tukkiride wansi eyo tugenze kukola tubadde tutandise okukola naye nga ffe tuli mu kufuba kimu basooke bagyewo amazzi
naye engeri gyebadde nti no contract bwemuba temumaliriza tebabasasula kati fowaman akedde bukezi ku makya mugende mumalirize akantu bwemutamaliriza kantu tebakola ki tewali ssente.
Kampala Central Division Mayor went to the scene.
Era information je tulina is KCC yajja ne bawa notice okusiba site. Era bolaba bano site mu butuufu there was no activity. Ne bolaba ate ku kisenge tebazimba retaining wall kakivudde ku nkuba. Waliwo toilet ebaddawo ne bathroom kati kivudde ku nkuba okuleeta ekisenge ekyo wansi netta abantu.
CTV has learned that the construction of the wall fence was approved by KCCA. KCCA's Deputy Executive Director, Engineer David Rimbas, warned owners of various construction projects to always follow guidelines that are given to them to avoid such incidents.
The problem now is that now this is a site that is hoarded off. Sometimes we may not actually know what is happening, but we have our inspectors who are supposed to visit the sites. We're going to find out what the inspectors did. I'm advised that this site was stopped, but I don't have the facts, okay? I'm advised that it was stopped, maybe because of being unsafe, but I'm not yet to establish the facts. Right now, I'm speaking without information. I just came here to ensure that at least we have secured the site and evacuated it.
Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson Luke Wesley says they are investigating the cause of the accident.
The Territorial Police at Old Kampala are investigating an incident where soil collapsed and caved in, covering two people who were excavating it. The incident happened today at about 9 a.m. at a construction site in Mbiro Zone, Kafumbe Mukasa Kisenyi 2 Central Division. The two victims were got out and rushed to Doctor's Clinic Mengo, where one only identified as Kato succumbed to the injury sustained. His body has been conveyed to City Mortuary Mulago as investigation into the incident go on. There are also efforts to track down the site engineers.
The body was taken to the city mortuary for a post-mortem.
Now let's take a short break. When we come back, I have news from Raila Odinga's power petition and more. Don't blink. Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it CTV. As the Kenyan Supreme Court continues to handle Raila Odinga's petition, more evidence to expose the electoral body's flaws has emerged. Odinga's lawyers have made several submissions alleging that voting totals at more than 40 polling locations were tampered with to increase William Ruto's tally and tip it over the threshold of 50% required to win. The details. Julie Soweto, a lawyer and Azimio leader Raila Odinga's legal team, made a live video presentation to demonstrate discrepancies from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's portal. During the hearing of the Presidential Election Supreme Court petition, she projected a form from Gacharaigo Primary School in Muranga County that bore the name of Venezuelan national Jose Camargo, which dictates that foreigners were smuggled in as ghost voters.
We were told the foreigners left before the 8th of August. This is on the 9th of August, and at the top left-hand corner there is the name of one of the Venezuelans, Jose Camargo. This is the person who decided the president-elect of the country.
She said the IEBC Talu system was tampered with to favor Ruto.
My lords and my ladies, is that the IEBC stamp? It's on the IEBC portal, looking like it's been superimposed over another stamp.
Is you have to download our form and try to do a tamper with it, what the agents in this case were doing. If you can go to the second one, this is the one I was describing. In fact, this one has, it even has the timestamp of their form, JPEG. We don't do JPEG.
However, lawyers representing Ruto argued that no evidence has been presented to show that the election was rigged or that the agency's chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, violated the law.
Article 138.10 places an obligation upon the chairperson of the commission to declare the result. So the gazettement was not for purposes of Article 138.3c, but specifically for Article 138.10.
The IEBC's legal team maintained that the roles of its chairperson, as prescribed in the Constitution, is that of a returning officer for presidential elections, and that there is no need to involve other commissioners in the tallying and verification of votes. Professor Githu Muingai, who is leading the electoral agency's legal team, said the case was all about facts and numbers, but the petitioners have brought in several other claims to distract the proceedings.
Madam Chief Justice and Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, that particular gazettement should not be read to mean that the chairperson had gone rogue, that the chairperson had taken upon himself and arrogated unto himself a power that he did not have. It is the Constitution speaking.
Mr. Kamau Karori, another senior counsel on Dr. Ruto's team, said that involving all commissioners in tallying and verification would mean that all 7 bosses would be required to carry out the same process for other elective positions. The Supreme Court of Kenya is due to rule on the petition early next week.
Had their own unique KIMS-KIT ID and serial numbers.
Government officials and stakeholders in Africa have called for productive action against the climate change crisis in Africa. This went on at the 3rd Africa Climate Week conference in Gabon. And Libya could finally get a special envoy after the December Jan Kubi's resignation. We have more. Gabonese President Ali Bongo Odiba, who was speaking at the 3rd Africa Climate Week conference, said that Africa's nations must develop strategies to address climate change, which poses an existential threat to the continent's megacities. He said African officials and experts should sharpen the positions they will present at the 27th Annual United Nations Climate Conference in Egypt in November. The 3rd African Climate Meeting is bringing together more than 1,000 government officials and stakeholders in Gabonese capital, Libreville. These are working to form African regional climate responses. Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth Group of former British colonies, said at the meeting that climate change is a profound challenge in Africa and a great challenge of our time, amplifying existing social, political and economic inequalities. The African Climate Week comes as the continent rose from several extreme weather events such as drought in East Africa and the Horn of Africa, sandstorms and extreme heat in West Africa's Sahel region, and destructive flash floods, storm surges including cyclones in Central, Western and Southern Africa. Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, who will host the upcoming UN conference, said that promises made to African countries to help them fight climate change have not been fulfilled. Shoukry said the international community is lagging behind in mitigation, adaptation and finance. Several pledges on mitigation and adaptation finance celebrated in Glasgow are yet to be delivered. Into a letter seen by Reuters news agency, Libya could have a new special envoy by the end of today. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres plans to appoint a former Senegalese minister to lead efforts towards peace in Libya. If the 15-member UN Secretary Council approves the appointment by consensus, Abdoulaye Bathily could take up the position immediately. Pending the Council's approval, Bathily would replace Jan Kubisi, who stepped down last December. Libya's had little peace since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that ousted long-term autocrat Muammar Gaddafi, splitting the nation in 2014 between rival Eastern and Western factions and dragging in regional powers. Libyan oil output, a prize for the warring groups, has repeatedly been shut off. Libya's worst fighting for 2 years suddenly hit the capital, Tripoli, last Saturday. The clashes erupted and ended suddenly. Away from Africa, in Afghanistan, an explosion near a mosque in Herat left several dead, including a prominent pro-Taliban cleric. And in the US, President Joe Biden has called upon Americans to rally against Donald Trump and his supporters' ideology, which he called extremist and violent. Here's more. Multiple casualties were feared in blasts outside a mosque in Herat, Afghanistan, just before prayers, local media reported. Hamidullah Motawakil, the spokesman for the governor of Herat province, told reporters that 18 people were martyred in the incident and 23 others were wounded. Citing local police, news reporters Reuters reported that the blast killed a high-profile pro-Taliban cleric, his guards, as well as civilians. As per the report, the blast that occurred outside the Gazaga Mosque just before Friday prayers killed pro-Taliban cleric Imam Mujib Rahman Ansari. The Taliban say they have improved security in the country since taking power around a year ago, but there have been several blasts in recent months, some of them targeting busy mosques during prayers. A prominent Afghanistan journalist, Bilal Sawari, tweeted that the pro-Taliban cleric in Herat was killed in successive explosions in the Gazag Mosque. Sawari said that Abdullah Azam, the Deputy Secretary of Economic Affairs of the Prime Minister, wrote on his Twitter page about an hour ago that Moruvi Ansari and Mura Barada are also in the province. The journalist quoted a local resident as saying that there were 2 explosions. United States President Joe Biden launched a scathing attack on Donald Trump and his supporters by calling them extremists and enemies of American democracy during a primetime address yesterday. The address was aimed at rallying the voters ahead of major midterm elections. During his speech at the Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Biden criticized Republicans for backing Trump's Make America Great Again ideology and asked his supporters to fight back. Biden said in the address, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of the U.S. Republic. Biden referred to the U.S. Capitol Hill riots that shocked the country last year and even the historic Roe v. Wade judgment on abortion rights. The U.S. president went on to say that MAGA forces were determined to take this country backward and that democracy is under assault at the moment. The midterm elections hold extreme significance for the Democrats as they will be looking to hold onto their majority in the House despite Biden losing his popularity drastically in the past year. According to a poll published by the Wall Street Journal on Thursday, if the midterm elections were held right now, Democrats will get 47% of the votes, while Republicans were projected to get 44%. PM Edition takes a short break. When we return, sports news.
Sometimes in life, we spend all the time trying to live other people's life. And along the way, we lose who we are by copying what other people are doing in their relationship.
You see, from the last time I met your sister, I've not spent a day or a minute without thinking about her.
It's a good surprise on a Monday. This is nice.
So you and him are
we're just friends.
Wow.
Come on.
just friends.
You either tell me where you're from or you go back to where you've been. Thinking it would work out for us, but yet to find out that's not who we are after experiencing a great disappointment.
She's in love with some other man, so classy, a gentleman, not poor dogs like you.
These are the mistakes girls do.
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back to PM Edition. In our sports news, Uganda men's national cricket team, the Cricket Cranes, have resumed training ahead of the inaugural edition of the Africa T20 Cup. The tournament that starts on September 15th until September 23rd in South Africa will attract 8 countries. CTV gives you an update on the training in Lugogo. Take a look.
The Cricket Cranes, who headed into the third round of the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League B, unfortunately failed to progress to the next round after coming second to Jersey, despite the two teams finishing on the same number of points on 22. This meant that Uganda's long pursuit to qualify for the 2023 World Cup qualification to India and the dream of attaining one-day international status came to a disappointing end. This is now behind them as they prepare for the first edition of the Africa T20 Cup, according to assistant coach Jackson Ogwang.
Yes, the selectors came in with a team of 14, and we have a couple of new players in there, mostly the guys who are graduating from the under-19. We want to drop them in right now, and they start gaining the experience.
Cricket Cranes will be looking to improve their global rankings after returning on a high, despite failing by net run rate to qualify for the next stage after the Challenge League B tournament. Ogwang says his team is now fully focused on what's ahead of them, starting with the Africa Cup.
We got disappointed. We didn't get to the World Cup qualifiers, the next stage of the World Cup qualifiers. But again, the mission is big. The target is far ahead of us. We have the World Cup qualifiers coming up next year. We have the 50-over qualifiers coming up after this. So we only can keep our heads up and focus on what is coming ahead.
Head coach Lawrence Maatlani has so far selected 14 players that are in camp, and one of them is captain Brian Masaba, who has missed the 2 previous competitions the Cricket Cranes have played due to injury. Masaba is delighted to be back and in the fold and says the team is ready to put in a good performance in Johannesburg.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get through the 50-over qualifier and make it to the 50-over World Cup. But it's not the end of the road for us. The Africa Cup presents a good opportunity to get back into a T20 groove. There's opportunities for several guys to put their hands up and make a case for themselves.
The inaugural tournament will have 8 teams including Uganda, Botswana, Ghana, Mozambique, Kenya, Nigeria, Malawi and Cameroon. Uganda is in Pool A with Ghana, Nigeria, Botswana and Malawi. The Cricket Cranes opened their account against Botswana on September the 15th. Noah Lakira, CTV, PM edition.
That's all we had for you tonight. The weekend is here. Let's go enjoy it, but responsibly. I'm Kalachi Brian with Isaac Luchams. We wish you good night.